Good evening. Today is a pleasure for us to welcome Mr. Mike Thomas, who is the Superintendent of Brockton Public Schools. Mr. Thomas, the first question is, before going over this academic year started in September, can you briefly go over the process of decision making for the school district back in March?
Sure. We were meeting throughout the summer, planning on what school would look like when we came back. Obviously, as a result of the pandemic, we needed to do a lot of different things. We were not all our students had computers, so we have 16,000 students. So we had to order 10,000 computers to make sure all of our students had one-to-one devices. We had to order internet devices so students without internet access in their homes could have that, just in case we had to start fully remote. Unfortunately, because of the COVID numbers being high in the city of Brockton, we did have to start school fully remote. We still are fully remote, but luckily we were able to buy close to 10,000 computers, have 3,000 Wi-Fi devices to help families that do not have internet at home get that. So there was a lot of planning and a lot of hours went into getting all that done. And then also training our teachers on how to use remote learning.
Talking about technology that has been, using in the learning process. So, how parents have been involved?
The parents have been great. They obviously there were parents that needed a lot of support, so we were able to recruit other parents that actually help speak the languages of our parents to help them navigate remote learning and the technology. We had tutorials. We set up, when it was safe to do so back in September, we set up in-person trainings for parents. They were able to come in and see our technology, use the same computers that their children are using. We still have on our internet, we have videos, tutorial videos to help parents show them how to navigate through our technology. Again, those are in all the languages that our parents speak. But parents have been very supportive. And I know this is very difficult for them because a lot of them are working 1, 2, 3 jobs and their children at home learning and not in school. So we understand how difficult this is with them, for them, but we really appreciate their cooperation and support.
We still have with us Mr. Mike Thomas, who is Superintendent of Brockton Public Schools. We are continuing with our conversation. So, what are the lessons learned last spring during the first wave of the pandemic that have helped you in planning this academic year?
Well, the first lesson is to make sure, first and foremost, is that everybody is safe and kept safe. What we had to do right away is to make sure that families had food. We are a free school district, free lunch school district. So the first thing we did when we closed back on March 12th was 3 days later, we provided grab and go lunches and dinners at our schools. So families had the food that they needed. And that was number one, the first most important thing, to make sure families were supported with food and also other support, social, emotional support, help that they needed. That was first and foremost. And then we had to move into, obviously, the computers, making sure we had the technology available so students could learn from home. But first, the number one priority was to make sure people were safe and make sure that people had the things they needed. And again, it was all about support.
The students in Brockton Public School system started this year remotely. I wonder how challenging has it been to do either evaluation for students, teachers, and staff?
Well, you evaluate for obviously how it's going as far as how many students are logging on, how many students are engaged in attending classes. We were just recognized by the Department of Education of one of only 10 districts in the state that during our remote learning is providing as much live teaching as we are. So every student is in classes with teachers, and their teachers are teaching live on the computer, which is very important. We're not doing a lot of sending students on their own to do work. We're actually, the teachers are with them every day on the computer. Again, it's not easy. We do not want students learning on a computer. We'd rather have them in school learning. There's no substitute for in-school learning, but obviously during the pandemic, we have to continue to evaluate this and see mostly how are the students engaged. Are they spending time in classes? Are they paying attention to the teacher? Are they doing their work? And then obviously continue to support them and support their families.
As we started with the second quarter, what are the expectations moving forward?
Yeah, well, as we move into the second quarter, which just started last week, we are looking at our younger students. Some of them were spending too much time on the computer, so we're looking for creative ways to get them away from the computer and do some other learning. We're also now looking at when we're going to be able to bring students back into school. Hopefully that's sooner than later, bringing students back in a hybrid model, which would be students coming in a couple days a week, half the students one day, the other half the next day, and you continue to rotate. Obviously allowing for just half the students in the building at once, for safety reasons and for social distancing reasons. But as we work through the first term and into the second term, we learned a lot about issues students were having with logging on, navigating technology, getting into different curriculum that we use, and with being creative and supporting the students with that. We did just start a after-school tutoring program that we recommend that families take advantage of. That's extra help sessions after school at all levels where teachers are tutoring students in subjects that they need help with, and that's going on through after-school programs into the early evening.
Mr. Thomas, as the school has been remotely due to the pandemic, I wonder how difficult has it been for students who have English as their second language?
Well, our students where English is their second language, I think have been doing a great job. I've been getting really good feedback from our bilingual department and our teachers that teach those students. Obviously, when needed, they teach them in their native language. And the feedback I've been getting is that those students have been doing very well, even though there are some of those students we have to give more support to. But our bilingual department, we have parent liaisons that speak all the different languages that we speak, that are calling parents and supporting them, and also the students. We have guidance counselors and adjustment counselors that also speak all the languages our students and families speak. So they have been reaching out a lot to make sure those students are engaged, making sure that they get the support they need. However, again, it's difficult, obviously very difficult for students with disabilities, and also students that English is their second language to jump on a computer and learn for the first, especially students that were just coming to us. So again, it's important for us soon to get them back into school so we can give them even more support.
Mr. Thomas, as the superintendent of Brockton Public School, I wonder what are the biggest takeaways from remote learning due to the pandemic?
The biggest takeaway is to be able to do this with the community and make sure that we're working closely with the community, with the parents, working with the different organizations that support parents to make sure we're all on the same page. Communication is very important, especially for our families that speak English as their second language. So we've done a lot to try to make sure we communicate everything that we put out in the native language. We also want to make sure that parents are able to come to us and get other supports that really might not have to do with the school department. So we offer supports for parents that need SNAP benefits or need help with finding organizations that help with rent We have people that help parents look for jobs. So there's a lot of different supports we have in place that go beyond just school. But I think the most important takeaway to get through a pandemic is that all the communities, whether it's the Haitian community, the Cape Verdean community, we all have to work together because all our kids and families are going through the same thing. And if we don't work together to support each other, then none of us could get through this.
Massachusetts Department of Education is asking school districts to prioritize in-person learning for some students. Does Brockton Public School have its plan ready as requested by DOE?
Absolutely. We have a plan ready for our bilingual students. We have a plan ready for our students with special needs to come back into the classroom first when it's safe to do so. That would be in a hybrid model, and then we would transition other students back. We would transition, again, those students back in first, and then our youngest learners, the pre-K to second grade, would be important to be the next phase back. So we have a phased-in plan. We have a transportation plan. We have a safety plan as far as social distancing, mask wearing, hand washing. We have all the PPE that's needed. That's all been ordered, and all the cleaning supplies are ready to go. So we are ready for students to come back in. And we know, obviously, when it's safe to do so, we will start to bring our students back to school.
To end this conversation today, Mr. Thomas, what is your message to the Haitian community who are listening to you right now?
First, I want to thank them and for their support and how hard that they work and how hard their children work. Their kids have been great, and they have been a great support. And I also urge them that if they need any help at all, to please reach out to us, reach out to their child's principal, reach out to the bilingual department, reach out to the transportation office, the parent information center. There's always somebody available to help them and answer any questions they have. And obviously, we have several tremendous Haitian teachers, administrators, guidance counselors, adjustment counselors that are ready to jump in and help. That obviously can speak the language to make sure parents understand exactly what their benefits are and exactly what should be going on in school. So they say they know the right questions to ask us to make sure their children are getting what they need. And that's the most important thing. But I want to thank them. I want to thank the Haitian community again for their hard work, their support of the Brockton Public Schools, and again, and I thank them for the opportunity to be able to educate their kids.